This episode has been brought to you by My Extraordinary Productions, now offering a mobile self-tape service. Click the link in the description to learn more. Hi everyone, today I am bringing up a term that maybe you've heard before, maybe you haven't, maybe you felt this way before, maybe you haven't, and it's called geographically undesirable. What is it and who does it affect? To be geographically undesirable is a fun way of saying that you live really far away or you live in an area no one wants to drive to. This is a map of Los Angeles, and these are the geographically desirable parts, and these are the geographically undesirable parts. And here's where I live. So, how does being geographically undesirable affect people? Well, if you wanted to date someone, well, they may not be willing to make the drive. And if you wanted to hang out with a friend, they may not be willing to make the drive. And if you wanted to apply for a job, they may not offer it to you because they figure you don't want to make the drive, which actually is kind of courteous depending on how you look at it. But the point is it can limit certain opportunities. It forces you to do a lot more driving because other people aren't willing to make that commitment. The commitment is a 30-minute drive. And I know some of you, especially if you live in a really rural town, are asking, is a 30-minute commitment really that bad? Somehow it is. A 30-minute drive without traffic can be an hour-long drive with traffic, and sometimes it could be even more than an hour. Now, once you get over the fact that the traffic is very mentally taxing and very stressful for a lot of people, you have to find a parking space. And yes, a lot of areas do have parking, but a lot of areas don't. Or the parking is set up in such a way where it's very difficult to find a solid 2-hour window where you can park there without any worries. This is a long-winded way of saying that driving can be a commitment here. And yes, when you're in a more rural area, it's very normal to drive for an hour or two or whatever. Personally, I feel like driving for 90 minutes on a very open rural road is easier than driving for 45 minutes in traffic. Now, one thing that really annoys me with this topic is people who are willing to drive 40 minutes, an hour, 90 minutes even, to get from one area of town to a different area of town. But they will not drive 30 minutes to get to a different area of town. Why is this? What is the difference? Well, for the valley specifically, some people feel like crossing through the mountains is crossing a barrier of some sort. It feels like more of a drive to them than just driving through a cityscape. I understand, but I still think it's a little stupid. Anyway, now some people after hearing this rant may ask, why would you choose to be geographically undesirable? And, sometimes it's just the way rent is. Rent is very expensive in these very desirable areas, and if you're willing to go a little further out, you can save some money. Or maybe you're paying the same dollar amount, but you're getting a lot more for it. Now, for some people, it doesn't make sense to live in Hollywood if they only need to be in Hollywood once every month or two, or even, 6. What makes a lot more sense for these people is to live somewhere where they can access Hollywood, but they don't necessarily have to be there. So someone may decide to live in Thousand Oaks or West Covina, or I've even heard of people living all the way out in Riverside, and then just making the drive every time they have an audition because it doesn't come up that often. Some people move to the LA area and they don't know where to move to. They don't know that some parts of Hollywood are gross and some parts are better. They don't know the difference between Beverly Hills and Calabasas. They don't know anything, so they just go where a friend tells them to or where a family member already happens to be, and that's how they end up in a less desirable location because that's where their safety net lives, or where their safety net suggested they live. So, what is a geographically undesirable person supposed to do under these circumstances? If you feel geographically undesirable, I suggest you learn the freeways, learn the traffic patterns, and figure out when you can make drives and which drives are going to be a full-day commitment versus half-a-day commitment, which drives are just going to be terrible no matter what, versus how you can time things so that they're a lot easier to handle. If you don't have a car, you're going to have to do the same thing, but you're going to have to do it with public transportation. So I would recommend that if you are without a car, try to live as close to a subway stop as possible. Next, when you are meeting dates and friends out, you could drive to where they are and time everything. you can also ask them to literally meet you halfway. I mean, if the friendship is valuable to them, they'll literally meet you halfway if they can. Now, chances are you are not the only geographically undesirable person you know. You may be surrounded by an entire neighborhood of equally geographically undesirable people, in which case, make friends with them. Befriend your fellow outcasts in whatever neighborhood you happen to be in, and you know what else? Everyone is geographically undesirable to someone. Finally, if none of these ideas work, you can always go on the internet and befriend people that way. Find internet friends like me by following me on social media. Also be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. Hopefully this helped one or two of you out. And if you've got a question, leave a comment. Otherwise, I will see you all next time.